Lovely. Okay, well, we'll get going. Welcome everybody to our LinkedIn, our webinar today about cold calling and LinkedIn. It is 10 a.m, so we will get started. So my name is Dee Mills. We have Sandy Colombo, who's sitting at the airport in Melbourne. We have Ben Lai, our guest speaker today, and Jinky Cardiente, who is my operations supervisor sitting in Cebu. Welcome everybody. All right.
Thanks, Dee.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Sandy, I'm surprised I'm not hearing all the calls of the airport. So you sat in a good spot.
It's a bit quiet.
Really?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Don't know what's going
Seems to be.
Okay. So
they know we're doing a webinar.
So
I told them all, Dee. I told them. I said we just have to.
Bear with me.
Because we keep our webinars nice and short, we've already got some questions here that people have sent through, but to everyone on the webinar, there's a little Q&A section there that you can type in your question, and we will read it out live if we can, but I'll start it off with the first question that we've got here to Ben. Ben, Ben, do you want to give us your 30-second elevator pitch?
Oh, yeah, sure.
We don't know who Ben is.
I know, I just...
Who is this guy? Yeah, so brief introduction. My name is Ben Lai. My company is Sales Ethos. And what we do is we help people to feel proud of selling. And one of the, and this is something we're going to talk about later today, one of the major blocks that people have is that they feel that selling is unethical. And so what I do is I teach people how to
block them.
How to do it, how to actually increase your revenue and get more sales without resorting to all of the unscrupulous tactics that people use. So I'm doing things the right way, doing everything in clients' best interests, and that way it's a win for everybody. So that's really what I do.
That's lovely, Ben. I just wrote that down. Make people proud of selling. And it is actually something we'll cover a little later on, but I'm going to mention you on LinkedIn and put that there because I think it's quite important. First question is what is the tip or the must do when people are cold calling?
Sure. And so just to give you a bit of background, I used to do quite a lot of cold calling. There was one time that I was, my role was just purely lead generation. And so I got a fair bit of experience doing cold calls. Now, one of the problems that I had was that I still had my values and my ethics back then, right? So I had to figure out a way to contact people without feeling like I was disturbing them and annoying them. And what I eventually learned was that the most important thing with any approach is to make it client-centric. So that means don't call up and say, hi, my name is Ben from Sales Ethos. We're the best sales training provider. We do this, we do that. We help this company, we did that. Right? About me. Exactly, right. So flip things around, make it about them. Call up and say, hey, I noticed that your company has recently won an award for this industry thing, Make it about them. Present a value proposition as early as possible. And talk as little about yourself as possible. That will immediately differentiate yourself from anybody else on the market.
Great.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Ben. And to take that into LinkedIn, that when using LinkedIn, that is exactly the thing that we just say to our clients as well. It's important to give some information to people that is a value add, not drop.
Yeah.
Here's our webinar, it's free. And interesting, Ben, I actually did 2 posts this week. One with Annalise, who was on our last webinar with her really great content of what she told, like what we discussed on the webinar, with a picture of her with the free webinar, and one with a different pic. And within 24 hours, the one with a different pic, same content, got much better interaction. And I'll be posting that later today. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about LinkedIn as well. You can actually do a little bit of a background on the client you're cold calling.
Yeah.
So as Ben said,
as long as you do, though, don't be going to coaches and asking them if they want to become a coach. And a lot of people do that on LinkedIn. They go into the messages and they don't actually spend 3 minutes looking to see what Ben does first before they contact. So it's a very similar thing, Ben. So great.
Can I just take a moment to gripe? The number one thing that irritates me.
Yeah, of course you can.
Because I get approached all the time by people, selling this XYZ services. The number one thing that really gets on my nerves is when they try to fake doing the research and they say, I looked at your profile and it was fantastic.
True.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Really? Really?
Oh, yeah, I really want to do business with you. Yeah.
So,
my profile was fantastic.
I have to put my sales hat on now and my marketing hat. For you, that's a perfect opportunity for you to go back and say, and this is what I do. Hey,
I think you need help.
I could really help you with this. Why don't you come on my webinar? And there'll be people there listening who I've done that to. Come listen to our webinar about how to use LinkedIn, because you are investing time, effort into, this, but you're not being effective. So there's
that's a good point, Sandy. I'll have a good lead generation report for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when people contact me now, because that's what I say to them.
In the nicest of way, you need help. Is that what you're saying? That's what you do, Sandy.
I just say it must take you a lot of time and effort. And I know a better way. Hey, jump on my free webinar and have a listen.
Yeah, cool. Ben, second question. What is the biggest block for people who are cold calling or they're new to sales? What's stopping them from actually doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dee. And when I started my sales career, I personally felt that block. I'm a natural introvert, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah,
well
absolutely. So I've, this whole journey of sales has been transformative for me, to learn to get in front of the camera and to do public speaking and to do sales, which are mutually exclusive skills, by the way. It required a lot of personal transformation. And so when I was picking up the phone in my first sales job, I was terrified. Like, I had all the physical symptoms of, physical threat. I felt like I was going to die by making a phone call. I think the reason that comes about is something a little bit more primal. There's a part of our brains that doesn't like getting on the nerves of other people. And when we're picking up the phone, we're essentially, at risk of doing that. So that's where a lot of the nerves comes from, and why we don't like doing it. I think the other problem with cold calling is that the mental associations that we have with selling and with cold calling. Because we've been the recipient of annoying cold calls in the past, we kind of don't want to inflict that pain on other people. And that's why, we hesitate and don't want to do it. So it goes into a very deeply subconscious sort of barriers. And the way to overcome it is actually by repetition and mindset change, right? So mindset change, think about the value that you're going to bring people. Remember that you're not going to pressure anybody to do anything. You're being client-centric. And then if you repeat that behavior over and over again, you actually reprogram the subconscious part of your brain to let it know that, hey, this is a safe activity. I didn't die when I made that phone call. I didn't die again. Oh, I didn't get hurt. Oh, okay, I suppose this is a safe activity, right? So that's how you can recognize where it comes from, as well as how you can overcome that problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. Thank you.
And a similar thing, Ben, for that on, using social media on LinkedIn, it's about LinkedIn, as we just talked about, dropping a come and buy this from me, or being really salesy, like what you're talking about, doesn't work. So when you're adding value to people come to you. I don't actually, so for those who are a bit, I've been in sales 30 years, so, I'm not scared of cold calling. But for those people who are a bit, LinkedIn's a really good way to do it, because what happens is by putting really good value out there and by being interactive, people come to you and go, hey, Sandy, can you come help me with this? And I go, yeah, no worries. So they actually come to me, which means that I'm coming from, a more, a stronger side, because they've actually asked me to come and do this work with them.
And I've had an example on LinkedIn, and I think I've spoken about it in the past, where I've connected with someone on LinkedIn. I don't know how long it's been since they've then said, hey, I do need your services. I'd like to outsource some accounting. I've gone to meet them, and it's been a completely different kind of sales call, because I haven't had to talk about anything, because they're like, oh yeah, we know what you do. We've sussed it all out on your LinkedIn profile and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, we just want to do the deal. And it's like, wow, that's the power of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And
because they can stalk you.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way, but they can check out who you are and what you do first, right?
Yep.
And, you know, I have...
And choose to do business with you.
Or not.
Before,
whatever.
Yeah.
They're not going to contact you if they don't like what you're posting and how you're doing it.
Yeah.
Then you're not a right fit. And that's okay too. Because how many times do we spend time wasting our own time following up people who aren't the right fit for us?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Good. Ben, you mentioned something about mindset just then, and that was actually the next question someone's written in here, is why is mindsets around sales so important? So did you want to expand a little bit on changing that mindset and then having the right mindset for sales?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the core of what I'm trying to do in the marketplace, because there are so many negative perceptions about sales professionals. You know, unfortunately, the behavior of the few that do the unethical behavior spreads the reputation and kind of plagues everybody else. So there's a very low trust level in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And when it comes to especially entrepreneurs, you know, like I said before, they've been the victim of poor salesmanship and unethical salesmanship in the past. And then so when it comes to their turn to actually doing it, it becomes, you know, a negative association. We can't help it. Once again, it's a very primal thing in our brain. When you put two things next to each other, we tend to associate them together in the same way that celebrities, you know, make products look more attractive. Having negative salespeople next to genuinely good salespeople has a negative association. So the way to overcome it, look, there's unfortunately no easy answer to it. But going back to what I was saying about the first tip about cold calling, it expands to the sales process as well. If you're constantly looking to add value to people, and you understand inherently that your product is going to bring out more value for the person that you're selling to than the price that they're paying, then you should have absolutely no inhibitions on selling that product whatsoever. In fact, let's flip things around and build a moral case for you to help other people. If you are a doctor and you have the expertise to heal people and to help them from their sicknesses, isn't it your responsibility to go and help as many people as you possibly can? In the same way, whatever your business does, think about the impact that your product has on the right people and the value that it brings them. You have a responsibility to go out and let people know that you provide this service so you can help them solve that problem. And once you really understand that, not just on a cognitive level, but on a subconscious level, that's when all of the inhibitions starts to melt away, and you'll be much more effective at selling.
And that's a lot about your story, right, Ben? So I remember the story around the boat guy who used to sell boats, and he hated his business. And he just, because what he hated about it was he had all these men coming in, buying these boats and taking women out onto, you know, Sydney Harbour, and he felt that it wasn't a moral business. He felt uncomfortable with it, right? And he hated his business, although he was making quite a bit of money. So this marketer came in and said, well, what about if you actually think about the type of person you want to sell your boat to and market to them, the dad who's going to spend time with his son or children and his wife and family, right? How different would you feel about your product and what you're selling? And his sales went up by about, I think it was like 45%. All because he felt like his values were being matched in his marketing message. And you asked us earlier why Dee and I have been doing what we're doing, is because we know how much LinkedIn helped our businesses and how much partnering together helped our businesses. So therefore, why, and people kept asking us, why wouldn't we share it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There has to be congruence between what we're doing and our internal values. You know,
Absolutely. And you've got to believe in it, right?
Yeah, that's really the definition of integrity, and it differentiates, you know, truly effective salespeople who believe in what they're doing from pretty much everybody else.
Absolutely. And then I was with a girlfriend on the weekend who's a brilliant photographer, and I've done some work with her before. And she said to me, we were just having a few drinks, watching the grand final, and she said to me, you know, Sandy, I'm really good at what I do. My problem is, what I've learned in business is you've got to be a really good marketer and salesperson. Otherwise, nobody knows how good you are. And I thought, gosh, that's just, it's true. You can be brilliant, but if nobody knows about how brilliant you are, you know,
so true.
You're not going to have the clients.
Yeah. Wow, Ben, that was really powerful, hey? Build a moral case to help people, and that will help you change your mindset around sales. That's awesome. Okay, we've got time for one more, and I'm just making sure there's no live questions coming through from our attendees. Final question, what is the number one tip if people want to increase their sales, Ben?
One that they can, one that they could take home with them, and maybe something they could do today. You know, you talked about a bit of a call to action, but let's not give them a call to action necessarily. Let's give them, right, something that they could go and do in their own businesses. And we don't know what those businesses are today. And so that when they do it, they can come back and go, fantastic, you know, that webinar was perfect for me to go to today.
Yeah, absolutely. The number one tip we've pretty much covered, which is the flip of mindset from being self-centric to being customer-centric. That one tip will completely change and transform your results. If you're always at the top of your mind, you're thinking, how can I serve this other person? Remember, we earn our income by serving people. How can I serve other people? That will automatically change the way that you're scripting your initial cold calls or your LinkedIn approaches. It'll transform everything. But in addition to that, I'd just like to add one side note to that. And that is
love it.
to embark on a journey of Kaizen, right? So Kaizen is a business term that describes small incremental improvements on a regular basis. So sales is something that you can never be perfect at. You can never be good enough at. I'm still, you know, as a sales trainer, I'm still learning and improving my own techniques. So rather than getting all stressed out and then expecting yourself to go out and suddenly transform your LinkedIn campaign or your cold calling campaign and then suddenly generate all these leads, just set small goals for yourself to improve just a little bit. You know, read the books, attend the seminars like this one, the LinkedIn webinars, and just learn a little bit every day. And as you do so, your results will incrementally improve as well. So
chunk it down. What you're saying is chunk it down, Ben, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because I think what happens is we go into overwhelm when we think about all the things we have to do, you know. But if you time block and chunk down one thing a day, maybe it could be 15 minutes, right? It doesn't have to be a lot of time. And then set that goal, you'll get there. It's a bit of consistency, right?
But also, as I'm sensing, Ben, you're saying don't expect to start doing everything now and have a 100% increase on sales.
No. Because it's probably what you did 12 months ago, but he's gonna be saying what your sales are today. Yeah.
Give it time. There's no magic. There's no
So
magic.
let's take it one step further, Ben, and let's ask everybody there to put their why they do what they do, right, out there on LinkedIn, because that's a really good place to start, right?
Excellent question too.
Yeah. Why do you do what you do? That's one thing that you can start. If you're a bit stuck with content, just go out there and put your why with a photo of you and say, this is why I do what I do. And tell us the backstory.
Yeah.
Please tag us all in.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yep. To all our webinar attendees. Yep.
So we can make sure that we can, support you.
Yeah.
Can I just add something quickly, Sandy? So the why is a great question to ask. And, Simon Sinek in his book, Start With Why, emphasized how important that is. But one of the dangers of, and I've asked some people, why do you do what you do? Some of them will be honest and they'll say, because I need the money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, link
answer
it
the
to your
question, why
values,
do you,
clearly.
answer why you do what you do, but focus on, once again, client-centric. Focus on the impact that you're making on other people, not what's in it for you, right? Sure, you enjoy your job. Sure, you're passionate about it. Okay, that's fine. But don't let that be what you're leading with. Yeah.
No. And that's the thing. And I think of, you know, when I was in travel for many years, you know, I worked as what they now call it, you know, BDM. You know, they don't call it sales anymore. And that in itself, I think, is really interesting. You know, so linking your why, you know, I always felt when I was in sales, no matter what travel business I worked for, or hospitality, I had to believe in the product.
Yep, me too.
Or the service. If I didn't believe in it, then my sales couldn't sell it. Well, and that's just the story I have in my head, right? So, because it's all just a story at the end of the day. However, the first thing was I was working for the company because I did need money and I needed an income, right? The second thing was I chose that company that I was working for and that product that they sold. So linking it to the value that your company adds, you know, the why. You know, like our boat story. You know, he wrote a different why for himself and completely shifted his business and increased his sales.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, guys, I'm very conscious of the time. Yeah, you've got a flight to catch. Thank you, everybody who jumped on this webinar. We'll be sending out the recording as a follow-up for today. And, of course, you can connect with us on LinkedIn. And, by all means, if you do your post on LinkedIn on your why you do what you do, customer-centric, of course, please tag us in. So we had Ben Lai from Sales Ethos, myself from CQ Mills Consulting, Sandy Colombo from Colombo Consulting, and Jinky Cardiente, who's my operations supervisor in the office in Cebu, Philippines. So thank you very much for attending, everybody.
And just before we go, Dee, just a reminder to people that we will be doing our launch shortly on our LinkedIn training program. We'll keep going with the webinars because I know people love them. But if reach out, I've had a couple of people reach out last week. Reach out, and we'll also be sending the live recording. Please out to people. Please fill in our quick survey. We'd really appreciate that, so we can get some feedback and we can tell other people about our webinars and do share them.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Ben, for coming along today.
Thanks
for having me.
Thanks, Sandy, for checking in from the airport.
No worries. I'm going to get my flight.
All right. See you later, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.